Hey, everybody, it's Greg Harrelson here. Of course, it is Tuesday, and it's that time again for us to kind of get together within the mastermind group of Real Geeks. Gosh, it's just it's an honor to be here. It's kind of like a privilege. I I love these weekly sessions. I get a lot of, I guess, gratification, knowing that you all are getting a lot of value. And I guess I'm making an assumption that you are getting a lot of value. I hope I am delivering value. But I do get a lot of nice messages, direct messages to me and text and whatnot, sharing with me that, sometimes they get something that makes a difference. So I hope that is the case for each one of you. And I hope that is the case for you today. So as you can see, the title here is 7 Ways to Generate Business Around the Holidays. Now, there's, besides the holiday itself, which I think is special, but, there's nothing really special about the holidays that allows us to get more business or less business. I mean, here's my take on the holidays. 99% of the real estate agents, they're not working after today or tomorrow. I mean, especially after this Friday or this weekend, leading up to Christmas, there's very few real estate agents that are going to be focusing on work. So I actually do believe there's an opportunity that affords a lot of us. For those of us, like when I'm talking to my agents today, this morning, because I have a coaching call with them prior to this coaching call. When I'm talking to them, I talk to them about doubling down. Let's double down on our activities the rest of this week and all of next week. We want to double down because most agents are actually pulling back. So when agents are withdrawing and pulling back, we want to push forward. I always believe that if you would like to get what other agents don't get, then do the opposite of what they're doing, because what they're doing gets them what they got. And if we don't want what they got, then let's do something different. So if they're going backwards, let's go forward. Now, before you push back and you give me resistance and say, Greg, but it's the holidays, I'm not saying you have to work harder or you have to work more. The way that we can double down on our generating activities is by, let's eliminate wasted time, because this is the time of the year that we tend to waste a lot of time. We tend to go into the office a little bit later. We tend to kind of like mingle and commingle and just like do things that are not that productive. We're in motion like all day, but we're not getting traction all day. So what we have to do is we have to like make sure that our motions are productive. That if we're going to be in motion, then let's be productive. Let's accomplish something. So eliminating waste and reinvesting that same amount of time into some sort of business building activities. That's how you're going to be able to double down, but not necessarily have to work more. Okay. Because today I'm going to talk about ways that you can generate more business around the holidays. And I'm going to choose some things that are a little bit unique to the holidays. Like, for some of you, you'd like to get some listings. And some of you are not calling the expireds because you're saying things like this. Well, you know what? Everyone calls the expired. Yeah, they were last month, but they're not this month. Well, I don't want to work FSBOs. There's so many agents working FSBOs. There were, but they're not right now. It's the holidays. Oh, well, FSBOs, they don't want to do anything right now around the holidays. Then why are they on the market? They're already on the market. They're just not on the market with you. They're on the market. Expired says to me, well, I don't want to, no reason to put it on the market. I mean, nothing's selling around the holidays. No, fewer properties sell because fewer properties are listed. But if you look at the average amount of showings that it takes to sell a property in December compared to the average amount of showings that it takes to sell a property in another month, December is December's ratio of showings to property sold to contract written is better. Why? Because the people that we're showing to are more serious. They have to be serious if they're not going to be shopping at the malls and the department stores or online on Amazon. They have to be serious if they're spending time with us. Serious people spend time with us. People that are not serious about buying, they're get serious about other things, and then when they get bored in January, they come back and talk to us again. So you may be working with fewer people, but it takes fewer people to make a sale. It's very important to understand this about the holidays. That's why I say holidays is it's a fantastic time to be active. So let's just get into it. Let's talk about, okay, well, great. Well, what are we talking about? What are we talking about doing? Well, I'll start with some simple things. I'll also disclose to you that, look, in the coaching world, we sometimes are accused of saying things over and over again. And I just kind of let you know what the coaches say about like agents say, gosh, they're all saying the same thing and they just repeat the same thing. Well, let me just tell you the coach's version of that conversation is, gosh, I'd love to tell them something different, but until they do what we've already told them, why would we tell them anything different? So like it's interesting, like there's two people viewing it from two different lenses. And it's interesting sometimes to hear the other side of the story, the other perspective. So it's not that we need to create something new to build our business around the holidays. What we need to do, which is the easiest path, is just to exercise and execute on what we already know. And this is not old school versus new school. As a matter of fact, if you go to Real Estate Sales Solutions, my Facebook page, I put a lot of coaching on there. I wrote a long post today talking about this. Is like, you know what? It's not about like learning something new. It's about unleashing what you already know. You don't need to know much more than you already know in order to grow your business. What we need to do is unleash what we know. Let's let it out in the form of execution. So, first way that I just want to mention to you about ways that we can generate business is you must reach out and talk to all your past clients and your centers of influence. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, yeah, well, of course, Greg. Yeah, of course doesn't mean agents are going to execute it. As a matter of fact, in my experience with real estate agents, the things that they know are the things that they never do. They just procrastinate because they already know how to do it. I'll get to it tomorrow. And we all know that tomorrow never comes. So it's not the knowing that gets us business. It's the execution of what we know that gets them business. The key is right now is like you've got a perfect reason to call all your past clients and your center of influence. Give them a call and start off with happy holiday. Sure, have that conversation with them. But before you get off the phone, I want you to ask them this question. And this is a question that you can't really ask in the middle of the year. You could, it just is not as appropriate. It's appropriate right now around the holidays. You could call them up and you could talk to them about, whatever you want to talk about, establish a little bit more rapport with them, build a little bit more rapport and a little small talk. But I want you to ask this question. Hey, I'm just kind of curious, Greg, what are your real estate goals for 2024? Have you put some thought to that yet? Start asking that question. What are your real estate goals for 2024? Just kind of curious. Have you put some thought to that? That's a way you can start generating business because you're going to get some, well, you haven't really put a thought to it. You're going to get some people say, well, my spouse and I are talking about it. We're thinking we might upsize, downsize, may relocate. We've been thinking about that. We don't have any investments. We want to start making some investments. Excuse me. That's the type of dialogue you'll start getting in. So these calls can be very fruitful for you if you take this approach. It doesn't have to be salesy. It has to be curious. It's not about salesy. It's about curiosity. I'm just kind of curious. What are your real estate goals for 2024? Have you been putting some thought to that? And let's see where that goes. Then what we'll do in January is we'll create a little mini workflow. And maybe it's only a small little workflow. And we'll ask them again, what are your 2024 real estate goals? We should be asking them that now And we should revisit that question and ask them again in January. Another thing that I'd be focusing on, again, these are all things that you know, or that when I mention them, you would know how to execute them. Won't cost you a penny because you've already made the investment. The next one that I have here is filter out your database and call the top priority. Now, each one of you, depending on how many leads you have, will define top priority or AAA lead or A lead, however you categorize things. We'll all define it differently based on the size of the database. Like, so if you had 1,000 people in your database, then you may define it differently than somebody that has 100,000 people in their database, and to completely different than somebody that only has 100 people in their database. If you have 100 people in your database, you're likely to, like, you should probably define at least 20% of them or 30% of them as a good lead, because it's all in respect to the 100. So 25 to 25% of them, if you only had 100, should be deemed a good lead. But if you had 1,000, then you want to narrow it down to about 10% of them. You need to narrow it down to your top 100 would be a priority. But if you only had 100, it'd be the top 20 to 25. Because number 99 is probably not really that good of a lead, or at least they're not good in the sense of they could be years out. The number one one's probably somebody that's looking tomorrow. So once you get to number 20 or 25 in a 100 lead database, you're probably starting to see the quality or the time frame kind of go down. It's different if you have 1,000. 1,000, I'd say 10%. If you got 100,000, you probably want to narrow it down to like literally your top 3%. So what I'm sharing with you is, by using advanced search filters, go in and start filtering out your database and narrowing it down to what you believe is your top priority. Now, you can do that by through your advanced search filter, by searching and creating lists of people that may have, like, searched a property in the last 7 days, saved a property in the last 10 days, viewed a market activity report in the last 30 days. See, like, you could create advanced search filters for all that criteria. You combine all those into one advanced search filter, depending on the size of your database, and start narrowing down the database. Basically, what you're doing is you're using engagement as a key factor in determining priority. So those that engage most, I believe we should deem as highest priority. So another way to generate business right now is using Real Geek's filtering system, advanced search filters, identifying top priority, and you guessed it, go call them all. And I mean call them all. Not like send them a text. I mean, texting's not bad. I'm just saying, but like, default to the call. If that doesn't work, then you consider the text. If that doesn't work, then you consider the email. I was speaking with somebody the other day, and I was telling this person how much I love, like, home cooked meals. I'm lucky. I had a mom that cooked a lot when I grew up, so I had hot meals all the time. It wasn't microwaved or anything like that. That was just the house that I grew up in. So it means something to me. But for somebody that didn't grow up like that, it means nothing to them. But it means something to me. And I was just describing this because we were talking about it. I was describing it's like, this is what it means to me, blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of looking at me like I was weird because they didn't grow up that way. And what I said, like, what it means to me is likely what this means to somebody else. Like, if I've got, let's just say, my spouse, it's an anniversary with my spouse. What communication would my spouse appreciate more? Would she appreciate more that I sent her an email saying happy anniversary, or a text saying happy anniversary? She would appreciate the text more than the email. But would she appreciate a card, handwritten, that I had to drive to the store to buy, and I had to read, and I had to pick out, and I thought of her when I read that certain card, and I took it home, and I wrote in it and I stuffed it envelope and licked the envelope and closed it and put her name and then hid it for a few days. And then I brought it out and handed it to her. Like, would she actually appreciate that more than the text? Yes. But if you were only going to email, would she appreciate a text more than an email? Probably yes. I only say this because your past clients, your centers of influence, and your highest priority list in your Real Geeks database, they would appreciate a call more than a text and a text more than an email. So when I give it that hierarchy, I want to share with you that I put thought to this. This is not just me running my mouth, throwing stuff on a wall. No, this is logical. We can create relationship through the physical conversation better than we can through the text conversation. Have any of you said, gosh, sometimes things get lost in translation via text? Yes. So we all know this to be true. The question is, will we execute on it? So the third one that I have there was filter your database and call the top priority. So past clients, one, centers of influence, two, and some people call it sphere. And then three is filtering your database and call your top priority. Keep it in mind, if it's 100, find your 20 to 25 top priorities out of 100. If it's 1,000, about 10%, 100. And if you've got way more than that, then you have to keep scaling it down percentage wise in order to create a list that you can manage calls. Your priority, well, Greg, well, how much should I drill it down to? You should drill it down to a level that you can manage the calls. And then the rest of this week and all next week, you dedicate a few hours every day to making those calls while the other agents are withdrawing from the business. This is how we grow our business and generate business around the holidays. Now, I did say, okay, I mentioned this around the past clients and centers of influence, and maybe doing this in January. But there's a side of it that we would want to do now. I do say, go ahead in Real Geeks and create a workflow, and just create a simple workflow of two sequences. Sequence number one, and what I mean by that is like an email or a text goes out, whichever you prefer. But an email can go out, and if you've got their cell numbers and they've opted in, I suggest you do text. It's just a simple sequence. And it could be, hey, I just wanted to wish you a happy holiday. I know a lot of us are busy with family and parties and gatherings and trying to squeeze a little work in. But I just wanted to wish you a happy holiday and let you know that I'm around. I'll be working through the holidays for the most part. If you need anything, just please reach out to me. Simple sequence number one. Simple sequence number two, maybe a day later or 2 days later, another text. Hey, one thing I didn't mention on the text that I sent you the other day, I just wanted to just check in with you. I've been thinking about a lot about 2024, and I was just kind of curious, what are your real estate goals for 2024? See, you know how like during the holidays we start thinking about the new year, and I'm not talking about New Year's resolutions, but we could talk about that. But we start thinking about our goals and what do we want for the New Year's, what do we want to accomplish in the new year. We start thinking about those things around the holidays. So I think that's the perfect conversation, that we know that that's what we all think about during the holidays. It's not the only thing. We know that those are things we think about. We think about enjoying time, friends and family, trying to get a little bit more work done. So that would be sequence number one. And we know we also sometimes thinking about like goals for 2024. A lot of people think about things like that. So since we know they're thinking about it, how about we get into the process of thinking with them? I suggest you send that sequence out. Now, whether you're going to send it out before Christmas or after Christmas, you can choose. I suggest you start sending that sequence out now. Now, sometimes I mention that I have a coaching program called Real Geeks Mastery. And feel free to check us out, Real Geeks Mastery. Real Geeks Mastery is where I do a much deeper dive on all conversations around Real Geeks. Basically, I open up my the hood, and I kind of share with you what we're doing in our own Real Geeks accounts. So when it comes to like this little sequence, I'll be building this sequence out, or we've already built this sequence out for ourselves, and then I give them all the sequences, the language and whatnot, and I give them price reduction letters. I give them buyer, emails, templates to send out to their databases, as well as help them set up, advanced search filters, all kinds of things, whether it be technical, whether it be marketing, whether it be SEO, et cetera, or just building the websites and whatnot. That's what we do in Real Geeks Mastery. So I've got some additional things that I'm going to share with you today, but if you actually wanted to, you could go to Real Geeks Mastery. I see my white shirt's in the way, but go to rgmastery.com. You can get some good information about it. So let's continue though, and just talk about things that we can be doing to generate more business around the holidays. I know I'm a pretty active guy. I mean, I don't like to sit on the couch that long, but I'm pretty active, but I know I'll find myself sitting on the couch more during the holidays than at normal times during the year. I just know that that's going to happen. And I also know, unfortunately, like a lot of people, I'll probably be sitting on the couch looking at my cell phone, even though the TV might be on or other people are talking. You know how we're always looking at our cell phone, and a lot of times we'll be surfing the internet. And a lot of times we don't surf the internet as much as we surf. So we engage on social media. Maybe that's not you, but that's the majority of people. So if you're going and what are they thinking? They're thinking, oh gosh, I wonder what's going on. They're searching social media. And then all of a sudden they see that, what's my home worth widget? You know, what's your home worth? Find out what your home's worth. I know a lot of you are thinking probably, oh, those leads are terrible. Oh, really? They convert at 10%. Like there's nothing terrible about them. But I understand that the industry says they're terrible because they're not following up with the leads. They're not calling them. They actually had this perception that if they got a lead, that lead was going to convert like on that phone call. Well, no, that was the wrong expectation that led to disappointment. They got disappointed, then they started lying about it. It's like, oh, these leads are terrible. No, they're not terrible. That's just what you say after you're disappointed because you had the wrong expectation. I know for us, I bet you we generate 300 plus seller leads in the month of December that we will continue to nurture for the next 12 months, and 10% of them will actually list. We won't list all 10%. I wish I could say to you that's my conversion ratio. It'd be a flat out lie if I said our conversion ratio was 10%. No, we will probably get 6% of that. But I know when we test and we audit all of the leads that we generate, I know that 10% will convert, but some of them will be converted from my competition because we even miss them. Even though we think we do a good job, we still miss them. We're not perfect. So you got 10% is the potential, 6% is our actual. That's a lot of business. So I use December to take the time to start building my database that I will then follow up with. Now, the future of real estate is going to be building your database, nurturing your database, and converting out of your database. It's not going to be buy leads, convert, even though there'll always be some of that. It'll be buy leads, build database, nurture, convert. Because a lot of leads that are bought are already in other people's databases. So it really comes now when it comes to conversion, because I even use real leads within Real Geeks. I use real leads. I use real leads in multiple markets. I have Real Geeks managing my PPC in multiple markets. And I never expect and call them up and say anything about their leads, because when I do an audit on their leads, they convert very well over time. And that's the case for all the lead sources. It's conversion over time, not conversion that one time. So it really is buy leads, generate leads, build the database, nurture the leads, convert. There's a few steps in between lead capture and conversion that have to be followed. So I'm going to double down on lead capture because I'm going to use Real Geeks because I know I'm confident in our ability to use Real Geeks to do the lead nurture. Therefore, when I combine lead capture and lead nurture, including calls to the top priority, then that's where conversion comes in. So the one thing that I wanted to share on that is I will be doubling down and using the What's My Home Worth widget inside of Real Geeks and doing Facebook marketing in order to build the database to have to nurture so I can eventually convert. That's ways you can generate more business. And I bring it up now around the holidays because I know more people are going to be looking at their screen. I'll have more there's more time to get to capture their attention. Now, another thing is in here is like, look, you have buyers in your database that are giving us that are disengaged. Okay. You've got disengaged buyers in your database, and that would be disengaged. Again, you could, depending on the size of your database, you may define this differently, but I'll give you a general definition of disengaged. It's somebody that has not engaged, like searched anything, saved anything on your website for the last 60 days. So you could set up an advanced search filter. It says in the last 60 days, they have not searched, they have not done this, they have not that. So just assume they've done nothing, they are disengaged. That might not be your priority list. The priority list I talked about earlier today is the ones that are engaging. This list is not necessarily the priority list, but this is a great call list because what we find is this. If there was 100 disengaged people in your database and you called them all, you're going to get about 18 of them to talk to you and get them back engaged. The ones that don't talk to you because they don't pick up the phone, then then send the rest of them a text and say, "Hey, I saw a property that you might be interested. Here's a link. Check this property out." You'll get a good portion of them will click on that link that you put in your text, and they'll go back to your website and start searching. You just got them engaged. And there'll be a percent that respond to nothing. But if you did 100 people like that every single week, the overall engagement in your Real Geeks database would grow exponentially. And there's a direct correlation to engagement and conversion. So another way to generate business is identify the disengaged category, call them, the ones that you don't have conversations with, text them a property, and it's okay if you text them the same property that you text everybody else. Like if they're looking for a residential home, then just pick a residential home. Don't think that you got to go find one unique link for every 50 people. No, just make it simple on yourself. Just send any link that's somewhat relevant to them. The key is they will click on it and they'll get back on your website because of it. And someone will start searching again. Or you could do the top 10 listings of the week. Now that's an advanced thing that I coach on is how to build a page on your website about the top 10 new listings of the week. So you have a live feed with new listings at all times and send them that link. Just say, "Hey, I thought you'd like to see the new listings hit the market today." They're going to click on that link and get back onto your website. Then they're going to see different properties and they'll start clicking on them. Now they're engaged. It's amazing how one simple text with the right verbiage can get 100 people engaged on your website, depending on the size of your database. That's another way to generate business around the holidays, knowing that more people are going to have time looking at their phones. They're going to be surfing the net. So let's give them access to our website. Here's a different one. I'll throw you for a curveball. And I got somebody from one of my offices text me and says, "Oh my gosh," this is one of my sales managers. "Oh my gosh, multiple agents have said this has been working in our market. So thank you for the tip." And that was simple. It was this. Go to Facebook Marketplace and search the garage sales. And all the garage sales that are in your marketplace, there's a button that says message. Hit the message button and type a message and simply say this. Hey, I see you're having a garage sale, and I just happen to be a real estate agent, and I'm constantly working with buyers that are asking me about this area. I'm just kind of curious if there's any chance that you might be preparing your home for sale. Will you be selling this anytime in the next few months? If you text 10 garage sales, one person's going to say, yes, as a matter of fact, we're thinking about selling. Now you just got a seller lead, a listing lead. It's simple. The key is like executing on the simple. Like everything I shared today is so simple. The key is executing on the simple. Last thing I'm going to share, I think this is number 8. I said 7, but it's a little bonus I'm thinking of is this. It's something that I'm training my the Real Geeks Mastery coaching clients on, and that is this. I'm having them all commit to adding 200 additional property owners to their Real Geeks database. Look, we all want, with the NAR lawsuit that's out there, so many agents are like thinking about listings. Like, how do I get listings? I need to get listings. Look, buyer agents, in my opinion, are not going out of business. That's chatter amongst real estate agents talking to real estate agents. The consumer sees value in the buyer's agent, a real good buyer's agent. I'm sure that's you. So some people will go out of business just because they're destined to go out of business. This is not going to put buyer's agent out of business, in my opinion, but it does have a lot of people thinking about how could I do a little bit more business with sellers. So in the Real Geeks Mastery course, I'm constantly talking to them how to build their databases for sellers, work them in Real Geeks, and generate more listings. Here's what I'll share with you. Kind of one of the tips that I'm sharing with them. Of course, I have more time with them to go deeper on this, and that is commit to adding 200 people, sellers, documented property owners in your market to your Real Geeks database and kick off a market activity report for every one of their neighborhoods. So choose 200 people, whether it's your centers of influence that own, whether it's old leads that you've had, past clients, set them up on market activity reports so they can start finding out what's going on with property values in their neighborhood, and make a commitment over the holiday to add 200 of those property owners. Build that database as potential sellers. We have thousands of documented property owners in our database, and we're converting listings every week because of the type of nurturing we do. Most of you haven't been doing it that long, so don't worry. I mean, my numbers are my numbers. I'm a dinosaur. I've been doing it for a long time. My suggestion to you is if I can get it to where it is, you can get it to 200. Make that a commitment around the holiday to build that seller database within your Real Geeks database. So there's 7 or 8 ways that you can generate business around the holidays. I hope you found that helpful. Please, I really would like some of you to consider, joining me at the Real Geeks Mastery, coaching program. I'm helping a lot of agents monetize their Real Geeks website, answer questions, technical questions, give them, again, SEO, building out websites, you name it. We have the discussion. All right, everybody, you all have a great rest of your week. I'll see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.